It's time now for Mental Health Matters with your host, Lisa Reimer. Mental Health Matters is graciously underwritten by New Vision Eye Center, world-class eye care on the Treasure Coast. New Horizons thanks Dr. Paul Minotti, Dr. Stephen Tate, Dr. Robert Reinauer, and Dr. David O'Brien. Now, here's Lisa Reimer.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters. I'm Lisa Reimer, and if you're just joining us, this is part 2 of an interview with Judge Cynthia Cox from the 19th Circuit Judicial Circuit and Deb Dreher, who is New Horizons Chief Clinical Officer. I am the host of Mental Health Matters and a communications officer with New Horizons, the largest mental health and addiction recovery agency on the Treasure Coast and in Okeechobee. So we've been talking about Veterans Court today, and you have a very specialized training. This isn't just you're a judge and you're going to go sit in drug court, mental health court, and veterans treatment court. What kind of training have you had, Cynthia?
Well, starting in 2002, when I started the drug court, we go to the annual Florida state conferences of drug court professionals, and then we have our national conferences that just really piqued my interest. And the mental health training that I was honored to receive was out at the National Judicial College in Reno, Nevada, for 2 weeks of intensive training on mental illness. And it just piqued my interest so that I've gone to every training that's available. I've tried to learn as much about substance abuse, disorder, mental illness, and everything in between, particularly the co-occurring disorders, because so many of the people that I see in my problem-solving courts, diversion courts, whatever you want to call them, drug, mental health, and veteran treatment courts, so many of those individuals do have co-occurring disorders.
Which means, for people who just don't know that word, that means that they have a mental health and a substance abuse issue.
And it's about 80%.
Mm-hmm. And we don't really know which comes first. You know, sometimes in the way that the brain identifies or manifests itself, we don't know if they're self-treating their mental illness or if the drugs actually created the mental illness or the symptomology of the mental illness. So we have to treat both of them. And it's common in both of those. And it's very important for a judge that oversees those courts to understand, you know, the diseases and the illness so that you can respond appropriately. They teach us, you know, the questions to ask, and they reinforce appropriate sanctions and incentives. The Mac Daddy of the conferences is annually. It's called the National Association of Drug Court Professionals and Justice for Vets, I believe it is. So it combines drug court and Veterans Treatment Court, but it also overlaps with the mental illness. And it's great to go to that because you hear from all around the country the different ideas and the latest trends. And just last year, I learned so much about where substance abusers hide their drugs and the little zippers and caps and shirts and all the designer drugs and how they use their, whatever the blobs or vape things, and how they put all their, you know, the fentanyl that's killing people in their, what do they call those blob?
I'm not sure, but there are many.
Yeah, they're little sticky things that, and they put it in their vapes too. You know, the e-vape cigarette things.
No, my husband's a teacher at Fort Pierce Central, and he says that, you know, the kids, they'll have a little vape thing, and you don't know what's in it.
You don't know.
And it doesn't smell the same.
No.
So,
and it's killing people.
Yes.
And actually, I just heard on an NPR program that the vapes, even if it's, you know, the nicotine, it doesn't heat it. So it's not really vape. Mm-hmm. It's actually aerosol. And so we are taking aerosol, or our children are, you know, whoever's doing it, is taking aerosol into the lungs rather than vape. But that's a whole different.
Yeah, it's dabs. They call them dabs.
There you go.
Dabs.
Oh.
And you just learn all kinds of interesting things at those conferences and bring it back. And our teams go, and the training is it's just amazing.
And because you have that training, and you really wanted to say something about this, the court has a whole different feel to it.
It is so different from other courts that I've been to that are not problem-solving kinds of courts. the judge is on the bench and the judge has a robe on, and it almost stops there because I was just amazed to see how kind and compassionate and empathetic the judges are on the bench. I can see people's shoulders relax. I can see that they feel as though somebody is connecting to them. It truly is a different style of court.
Yeah,
they congratulate them for every accomplishment and effusively, so that you can see that the judge is trying to lift people. And I think that's just fabulous. To me, they look like therapists on the bench.
I feel like it too.
Yeah, it really. I've seen Judge Cox and I've seen other judges. It is truly an amazing thing to see.
Yeah, you said during the break that you now know about the kinds of medication that is being prescribed for certain diagnoses, so that just by them telling you their meds.
Yeah, you don't, at
what they're diagnosed
at a first
as.
appearance hearing, you don't want to ask them too many questions about their mental illness or the medical conditions because of HIPAA and everything. You don't want to embarrass them. But as soon as I ask someone, I say, what medications are you taking? And if they tell me Risperdal or, various, I know right away what their diagnosis is and then I'll say, well, do you receive benefits or do you see a doctor at New Horizons or Legacy or Mental Health Association, just so I can identify them and make sure that I refer them to the proper court upon arrest. So all of us do first appearance hearings, and that's the first time that we get to interact with these individuals that should be appropriately referred to our problem-solving courts to help refer them for treatment rather than let them languish in the jail and continue to recidivate and continue to commit crimes.
And the judges meet with the team prior to court.
Yes.
So they're meeting with whatever team they have, case managers or court managers or whatever, to get an update on the individuals before seeing them on the bench.
Is there an average length of time? Oh, what's the time frame?
So in Veterans Treatment Court, it's a minimum of 1 year for a felony and 6 months for a misdemeanor. And we do have a great team. I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but we have as I mentioned, the VJO, the whole Veteran Treatment Court mentors. There's about 10 of them. And then we have our state attorney that's especially assigned to the Veterans Treatment Court, our court case manager that's specially assigned, doesn't change, and then we have our probation officer. And we have our a law enforcement officer too, and you know who that is. Teddy Floyd. So Teddy Floyd's out in the community and he can relate to the veterans. And I can tell you a story. A couple of weeks ago, one of our veterans, we got them hooked up with Treasure Coast Housing. Louise Hubbard, right? And so we got them in the rapid rehousing program, but they had no furniture. A lot of these individuals have nothing. Their families are done with them, and so we have to get many of them to start all over. So the guy had found some furniture, or actually the veteran mentors had obtained some furniture, but they had no way to transport it. And we said, Teddy Floyd has a pickup truck. So, we work together as a team. Everyone works 24/7 as a team to address any issues that any of them have. If there's a relapse or a need for anything, the team, we all have our cell phones and can take action quickly.
Yeah, so I spoke with Judge Lynn about relapse for the drug court, and he said that does not necessarily kick you out of their program.
No.
That it's part of recovery and sometimes expected, and as long as people are following through with their obligations and trying their best. So is that the same case?
We don't really expect relapse. It is part of recovery, or it is sometimes we try to prevent, and we try to teach them the relapse prevention tools. It's a little difficult because with the VA, most of the services for the intense services are down at the VA in Palm Beach, West Palm Beach. And we have our local CBOC office here, which is a community-based outreach center, I think it is, down on 17th Street across US 1. Do you know where that is? I think it's the Lena Mark building. So a lot of it's done remotely now, and we do try to prevent relapse. But if someone is trying and they're doing everything they can, a lot of these veterans have long alcohol issues, alcoholism. And, some of them we just know they're not going to quit drinking, and we just try to do the best that we can and get them into a detox and maybe a Vetsville where all the vets live that are sober, a sober house.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Yeah, and we have various like the Every Price Has a Dream housing where they don't allow, they have each other, the other vets, to keep them sober, and
Right.
AA and all those other tools. I forgot, we also have another team member, which is Captain Bailey from the jail. So we have a communication with the jail for individuals that are awaiting a bed or in jail or haven't bonded out too, so we can stay up to date on what their needs are and what's going on with them in the jail.
So, Deb, I wanted you just to talk a little bit about what kinds of, now, most of these guys get their services from the VA, but what kinds of programs people who are dealing with PTSD actually go through? What is the therapy? What does it consist of?
They usually get medication and counseling. I believe the Veterans Administration, don't quote me on this because I'm not 100% sure, but I know they do CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy.
Is that?
And it's specifically trauma-focused CBT.
So what is
And the
that?
idea, very quickly, behind CBT is that your thoughts inform your emotions, which inform your actions. So in the case of a veteran, if an example would be if you have those intrusive thoughts, that will make you emotionally uncomfortable, right? Which would then make you maybe avoid or become angry or irritable or whatever. So they help them identify the thoughts and then come up with a stopping point before the action takes place, basically. And it's very prescribed, and they get homework that they're supposed to do. Maybe first figure out when these thoughts occur, and then what am I going to do when those thoughts occur, as an example. There's also EMDR.
So let's just make this. So for the lay people, so let's just take cigarettes, because we've all learned about, you wake up in the morning, you have that cup of coffee, so you're trying to quit smoking cigarettes. You have that cup of coffee, and you always have your first cigarette of the day. So maybe not have that cup of coffee and do something else.
That would be a great analogy.
So those are the kinds
that might
of
be an analogy.
Things that people could practice.
I don't know how you could practice without coffee. Couldn't do much. Couldn't get up.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that one. But that's a great analogy.
Okay,
yes.
So those are the kinds of CBT.
That's basically an overview what CBT is.
Okay.
It's a lot more than that, and they do then process the trauma itself. But you don't process the trauma before you give people the skills to cope with the trauma that you have to process. So you also work with some relaxation techniques and deal with some of the symptomatology. You don't just come to your first session and say, tell me about that experience in combat. You just don't do that.
Okay.
I don't know if the VA does EMDR, but that's another.
And what is that?
You always ask me that, and I never get it right. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing training, and it basically, and I'm not certified in that, but it's dealing with sort of relaxation and rhythmic activities. It's also very prescribed, and it helps people to cope with trauma as well.
Okay, so we're going to take a short break. When we get back, Judge Cox is going to tell us about some real success stories.
Hello, residents of Indian River County. Please help stamp out recycling cart contamination by recycling right. That means no garbage and no plastic bags or plastic wrap in your blue recycling cart. Contamination could cost you money and your blue cart. So let's recycle right and recycle often. For more information, visit ircrecycles.com.
Visit us at ircrecycles.com. Indian River County. Roll with us, recycle.
17 people are dead on the tracks. Where is Governor DeSantis? There are no state regulations for trains going faster than 80, and Virgin trains will go over 100 miles an hour through our towns. No regulations. The Florida Alliance for Safe Trains is asking you to contact local officials and the governor and say, make them safe. Go to our Facebook page, Florida Alliance for Safe Trains, or our website and get more information. Call the governor today.
This year, let the professionals at Premier Landscape Solutions enhance your property's curb appeal. Our expert design team can help turn your tired landscaping into the perfect backyard and create a customized care plan that will keep your property looking great year-round. 772-925-0030. Visit our website at VeroBeachLandscaping.com. From bare bones to beautiful, let us transform your space today.
We don't make excuses, we make results. Premier Landscape Solutions.
Come to Mulligan's. Not only will you savor great food and drinks, but you will also do so enjoying the best view of the Atlantic Ocean in all of Vero. Whether it's starting the week with a sunrise breakfast or enjoying a sun-filled day with live music on the weekend, you'll feel like you're on vacation. Try their monster fish and chips, lobster roll, or cool, crisp salads alongside their legendary tropical drinks. It's all waiting for you and the entire family at Mulligan's Beach House on Beachland Boulevard, Vero Beach.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters. I'm Lisa Reimer, and if you're just now joining us, this is our second part of a two-part series interview with Judge Cynthia Cox, and we're talking about Veterans Treatment Court. And Cynthia, you've been, if you want to get the first parts of this interview, it's on our new Facebook page, New Horizons Mental Health. Cynthia, we're so anxious to hear some of the success stories that you have seen in your court.
There's so many, honestly.
Well, that's good. That's good news.
Every veteran that comes into Veterans Treatment Court really is a success story, and they all have different needs. I was trying to think of some of the more spectacular ones, but every one of them is great. For instance, I told you about the gentleman who had no housing and no furniture, and we set him up with housing and furniture, and we've placed people in jobs. This one individual that was very, very pitiful, his family was just done with him, and he had a severe mental illness. And I want to point out that, not everyone that joins the military comes back ill or sick because of the military. A lot of people that volunteer to serve in the armed forces already have issues before they go that may have either not been treated or been aggravated or precipitated by perhaps their experience in the military.
And when people go in the military, they're often very young, and issues like schizophrenia may not have shown up yet. And you're right. The experience might precipitate it, but it was there before they got in.
And we
That's
talk a lot about
absolutely
childhood trauma here.
Yeah,
so.
that's absolutely true. So,
right. And so we are trying to, get these people back to a normal life. And the one gentleman that I was thinking about, his wife was just done with him, and we tried to put him in housing, and there was no vet housing anywhere locally, and so we finally got him through one of our ministries. We hook up with the faith-based housing, which is kind of what we call transitional housing, that's very structured and has supervision and doesn't allow alcohol, that will help transport them to their medical appointments and other responsibilities that you have, because these diversion programs, they actually have quite a few responsibilities. And so this gentleman went through all of that, and it was very sad because his wife was done. And suddenly, right when he was graduating, his wife decided that she was going to give him another chance. And took him back, and they moved away. And we've heard that they're doing great. He identified, and actually it was a very serious case of schizophrenia and schizoaffective with some delusions. So he was very difficult for her to deal with, and he's medicated, and he was just a different gentleman from the first time that I met him, where he was, I couldn't communicate with him in any meaningful way. So that's the one that sticks out most. But I've had so many that, the individuals that learn about Veterans Treatment Court are just grateful. There was one in the paper a couple of weeks ago that was a high-profile case, and this individual was a Vietnam vet, and he was a public official. He's well known by people, and he didn't even know what services were offered by the Veterans Administration. So I was shocked when I said, "Yeah, you've never been to the VA before," and he said, "No." He said, "I'm just so surprised at all the services that are available." And so if we do nothing more than connect them with services that are available for things that they need or things they may need later in life. I mean, they have great nursing home services and services for spouses and burial benefits and all kinds of things.
But especially with mental health and drug addiction and alcoholism, the stigma, not wanting, I mean, we deal with this in everyday life. And so when you talk about the military, they don't want to show weakness. I mean, that's their whole thing, is to be strong for the nation, strong for their family, strong for themselves.
But I think the VA nationally has been doing a much, much better job of telling vets and telling the servicemen and women to go ahead and get help, and it's okay to get help. They also know that there's a suicide problem, and they're doing suicide outreach groups and all kinds of good things. Stigma's still there, but I've got to commend the services for what they're doing to try to reduce the stigma for
that's why we're having this conversation. We want people to be able to have these conversations at the dinner table with their friends, where they need, so people get the help that they need. If people, because you've really piqued my interest, obviously I'm not a veteran, so I can't be a battle buddy, but there are people who would love that volunteer opportunity. Can you tell us a little bit about how someone would find out more?
Well, yes, we have our mentor coordinators, which is Mike Bodner, and I don't have his phone number on me, but Sylvester McIntosh is also one of the mentor coordinators, and his phone number is 501-2422, and they are
It's 772
501-2422.
Okay.
And they are connected and involved and or somehow related with the Vietnam Veterans of Indian River County. So if you want to contact the Vietnam Veterans of Indian River County and tell them you want to be a volunteer, our veterans are so appreciative. And
there's a training process, like you said, a boot camp.
Yeah,
and
it's awesome.
Is that a big outlay of time? What kind of a time commitment is that?
They go up to the conference, and I think it's like 3 days, and there's scholarships for them to do that. It's just an
awesome.
It's just very rewarding experience for those veterans, and it's an honor for all of us to be able to help and give back to people who have given their lives to serve our country, and we all just love to show our appreciation by doing whatever we can, and anybody that wants to volunteer, they would just really enjoy it.
And what if a family member or a veteran, him or herself, is listening to this and they say, I'm facing some of these issues. How do I find more out about the Veterans Treatment Court?
Well, they can go on our website. We have information on our website about Veterans Treatment Court. But like I said, they would need to be arrested to get into our court. But if they need more information about services that are available to veterans, certainly if they would call our case manager, which is on our website, or one of the veteran mentors, Sylvester or anyone at the Vietnam Vets, or we can refer them. We can all refer them to the information that they need. If they have someone that's been arrested, then certainly they need to tell their attorney that they're a veteran. I mean, that is so important. They never identify themselves properly as being a veteran. So if they'll identify themselves and then try to get the information and get the referral to Veterans Treatment Court, we can hook them up.
Okay, wonderful. And so if you want to know more about mental health or if you're interested in having someone come speak to your group, please give us a call at 772-468-5600 and ask for Lisa Reimer or Deb Dreher. We'd be happy to set something up. Also, if you're interested in supporting mental health services in Indian River County, we have a 5K race, a walk, and a run coming up on September 28th. September is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And so every year for the last 9 years, New Horizons has had this 5K. It's fun. There's music. There's free food.
You can walk.
Yeah, right. You can walk. So if you want to learn more about that, visit us online at www.nhtcinc.org/events. That's New Horizons Treasure Coast Inc. premierlandscape.org. Cynthia, thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to our next interview. And Deb, as always, thanks for being here and
Thanks for
supporting
having
us in all that we do.
Thanks for having me as well.